I mean, if we have a potential client that need a developer only for 3 months, we don't take those kind of projects because we believe in our culture as a company, and it's tough for a company to hire and fire people just for 3 months.
Right.
Because one of the big things that we have as a company is that we have like a really, really, really small rotation of people because of our culture. And that's amazing, not only for us as a company, but also for you as a client.
So if you're building a company, at some point, you're going to need the help of a technical or development person or team. And finding and hiring this can be a big challenge, especially when you might have a lot of unknowns about your project or the scope that you're actually building, or what you need. So this is where having more flexibility and a resource that can support you comes in very handy. So today, my guest is Roger Einstoss, co-founder and CEO at Braintly. And we're going to dive into the pros and cons of hiring a team outside of the US. Welcome, Roger.
Hey, Lee, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this will be interesting. I know there's a lot of people out there building companies that are tech specific, but also companies that just have a tech aspect. I mean, most companies do. So everyone at some point rubs up against development, and whether they're building a product or whether they're just building infrastructure. So but before we jump into this, give us a little bit of your background. Tell us about are you a developer yourself?
I used to be a developer. I'm a software engineer. I started coding when I was 15, more than 20 years ago, at high school. And then a couple of years later, I founded my company and I started being a developer, then being a project manager. So I've been in each role of a software development team. I think it's one of the advantages right now to be the CEO and have that ability of oversee everything inside the company. Yeah. So I used to be a software developer, but I still have my heart.
Yeah, well, that's good because you're always understanding what's happening on the front lines, which is nice. You've been there.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So we want to talk about essentially the pros and cons of hiring outside of the U.S. So let's start kind of high level, right? Let's talk through like how can founders, CEOs, or even teams that are building inside the company, how can they get started hiring foreign workers outside of like your typical platforms?
Yeah. Well, you know that many times people first think in India or Philippines or Eastern Europe when they think from the States to make offshoring. And they never think about nearshoring, which is hiring someone who is close to you in terms of time zone. So many times we talk with CEOs or CTOs, and they both have same but also different problems. Many times the CEO needs to have the the new features moving faster and faster, and always they think, okay, my ideas are moving faster than the technical team can do, and that's one of their pains. And when you go to the CTOs, the main pain is that they have the CEO saying, I need you and your team to go faster, but you don't have extra money to spend. So they start feeling that they are in the middle of the river trying to go in faster, but can't afford hiring new engineers in-house in the States because of the pricing, obviously, even more if they are in San Francisco or New York or those big cities. So many times that's the moment where this idea of making offshoring or nearshoring come to the table.
And when you say nearshoring, what is that? How is that different than offshoring?
The difference is that when we talk about nearshoring, it's that we are near the shore because of the time zone. For instance, I'm based in Argentina, and the time zone difference between Argentina and the East Coast right now is 2 hours, but 9 months of the year is only 1 hour. And with the West Coast, only 4 hours. So that's near shore. Same happens with Mexico, Colombia, Uruguay, Chile. any country in Latin America.
Yeah, this has come on my radar recently. I'd say in the last probably 2 years, I've been kind of just naturally talking to a lot more people that live in those countries, and sort of partially because a lot of people are moving to those countries
Yeah.
for the opportunity. Do you see that from your side?
Yeah, yeah, I see that because in the specific case of Argentina, there are plenty of people from Argentina living abroad. We always make this joke between Argentinian people that say, no matter the country that are you going, you will always find some of us working, doing things. And now we are like world champions, so we are even bigger. You know that for us, soccer is a big important thing. But yeah, there is also people from the States coming here because they, I know many. I talk with so many people that just married with an Argentinian girl, and they ended up living here in Argentina because they love the food, they love the music, the red wine, the people, the culture. So they end up like coming here. But it's like a both way avenue, I would say. Many people going abroad, and many people coming to this
Yeah.
country.
That's funny. My project manager over at Signal Media is a similar story where she's from North Carolina, but she ended up in Ecuador because she fell in love with someone and they just stayed there. And then her parents moved, and
Yeah,
it's interesting to see.
yeah. And imagine that most of the people from Argentina came from Europe. I mean, my grandparent was
Yeah.
born in Poland. So we are a culture that grew up with this thing of immigration and coming from other countries, going to other ones. So it's something normal for us being international.
That's interesting. Really interesting about that culture. And I just remembered I had Nikita on the podcast like maybe 3 or 4 episodes ago. He's the founder of Maildoso, which is a cold email platform, and they're just skyrocketing in success. And he's originally from Ukraine, but he moved to Uruguay because of the disruption there and the war
Yeah,
that's happening. And so he's another example of industrious, hardworking people that are finding an opportunity there. And so I'm looking at this and seeing it more and more present in my world from a marketing standpoint. And marketing is closely related to tech. There's a lot of tech that's involved there. But it's interesting to hear you say that from a cultural standpoint, that there's communities that are popping up now and becoming. Yeah, and maybe I'm behind. Maybe it's already been a thing for years, but
yeah,
it definitely seems like it's a trend.
yeah, yeah. Definitely, it's a trend.
Yeah. So aside, I mean, that's great to know, because I think that goes beyond what I would think the original point would be, just the arbitrage on hourly rate. We're kind of getting into some of the pros and cons here. Pros being that people are leaning into this and changing their life completely and moving, for these opportunities. So that says something about, the people you're going to be hiring if you're
Yeah.
hiring some of these developers. What are some of the other pros that you see for, well, first of all, before we get too deep into that, still high level, why do you think that most companies don't think about the Latin American market, but they're thinking about India or Ukraine first?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have the right answer, but probably it's because Latin America started growing in the last 20 years. And India has been like creating developers for, I know,
It's already been, yeah.
it's already been. So the thing that you have in Latin America that you don't have in India, for instance, or in Eastern Europe, we will talk later about time zone, culture, and many things. But in Latin America, we have been creating so many unicorns. For
Mm.
instance, the first unicorn from Latin America was created in Argentina. So creating unicorns, despite the unicorn per se, the thing that happens there is that you start creating talent that is ready for working in that level of companies. So I think that if you don't count the states and you you only see Latin America in general, you will find the region with the biggest amount of unicorns per person in the whole area. So I don't know why people start looking at India. Probably it's because of, I know, they get used to that and maybe talk with someone that says, hey, I have my team in India. It has these pros and cons, but okay, I will make an intro with them. So it's, like a snowball. Uh, because I talk with many clients that when I start telling them about Latin America, about the advantages, about the time zone is the biggest thing. It's really difficult to work with a team that it's, I know, 3 days ahead of you. So
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know why Latin America it's not the first thing that pop up, but it's happening, and that's
Yeah.
why if you see my LinkedIn, you will see that most of my posts are talking about Latin America, the advantages, because it's not about selling my service; it's more about pitching the region and letting the world know that Latin America is a big and super interesting option.
Okay. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And, I think there's a huge appeal to sort of having a 24-hour work cycle for some US companies where, their US based employees are working all day and then they hand off to the India employees that go through the night kind of thing. But it doesn't seem to always work out that way.
No.
I think that there, by and large, the stories I've heard, it sounds like there's more synergies that are happening when there are workers either in the U.S. or close by the time zone they're there to respond and work kind of hand in hand. So I would count that as a pro for sure. What are some of the other pros that come to mind when companies are looking to hire from Latin America?
Yeah, you also have a big thing that is the culture. When you take a look, the culture of people in Latin America and the work culture, it's much closer than the work culture that you find against someone in the States and someone in Philippines or India. I have a client that used to work with a team in India before starting working with us, and some time ago, he told me that the biggest problem that he had, despite time zone, was that they are like a military society. So they are perfect if you need a role that needs to just follow instructions. A BA, for instance, they are
Yeah.
perfect for that. But when you are hiring an engineering team to build your product, you need someone who can challenge you, who can say, no, I disagree with that. I think this is not the best solution. Why if we try this or that? So in terms of culture, in Latin America, you will find people that will treat you as the same. I mean, I know that I'm a developer and I'm not the founder and you are the founder, but if I have an idea that think that it's the best for the company, I will tell it, and I know that I have to do it, and I will not be afraid of doing, because I'm not afraid of being going to jail or being like punished for doing that. So it's something that it's really inside our culture and makes the difference against other cultures around the world. um, Another great thing, another advantage is that most of the professionals in Latin America, in Argentina in particular, are really well educated. We have a really good level of English for business skills that can talk and write in English. Um, and we also have some of the best universities in the world. I mean, not don't take a look to Harvard, the states universities, but when you take a look to Latin America, for instance, Argentina is in the top 10 of best universities all across Latin America. So you have this thing of the unicorns that we have been discussing. So you constantly have like new talent that is learning, studying at universities, learning English, and working for big companies that then eventually became like unicorns or APO or whatever. So you have a really like a pushing and moving forward personality in each person that you can hire in LATAM.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like there's a ton of pros, and especially one of the first ones we were talking about, that there are people moving there to be part of that culture and part of that opportunity that's growing. That's a huge deal, because if people weren't doing that, then it would just be sort of an arbitrage of existing people that are there, which is not really too much different than hiring in the Philippines or India or somewhere else, except for the time difference. So it sounds like there's a lot of pros. Can you think of any cons? To lead off, maybe the one that I would think of is really just culture, company fit, maybe, depending on the project you're working on. It would maybe be a stretch to get there, but I think that some companies might have a better fit with the project they're actually working on and the developers that are available. That's as far as I could maybe get.
Yeah. I think that many times when you start creating a company, in the very, very first times, it's maybe better to be in the same room, like working like in a war room, like trying and testing ideas. I think you can do it remote. We are a full remote company, and we have been working with remote companies for more than 15 years. But for some people, they prefer in that early stage to be in the same room. So obviously, I mean, we are pretty similar when it comes to culture, but it's not exactly the same. It's like me when I will give you an example. When I go for a dinner with someone in the States, with a client, I go to Florida and we go having dinner. We will, or lunch during the working hours, we will probably have lunch for an hour, and in the minute number 59, that lunch will end.
That's right.
In Argentina, when I reserve time for lunch with the client here, I blocked the whole afternoon, because wow. I know that we will have lunch for 2 hours, and then we will have a coffee, and we will end up talking about family or friends or whatever, because we are like much more, we are warmer, I would say, like this kind of Latino thing so maybe we are more, we didn't get used to talk certain things like so straightforward like you in America do. I mean, I get used to work with people in the States, so I know that maybe a client will give you feedback and will be super direct feedback. But for instance, for some people in Argentina, that would be tough, because many times we try to make things like sound lighter or those kind of things. But those are little things compared to hiring a team in India or whatever. So if you want to feel that you are working like with your brother, okay, you have to go and hire an internal team in the States, because that team will be like 100% aligned in terms of culture, like us hiring Argentinian people. But despite that, if you hire the correct people at the correct fit for your company, you will find like 99% of compatibility. So it will be okay.
So how would you suggest for U.S. companies to bridge that cultural gap? Is it that we would be asking of you guys to come more to our side and handle more direct feedback or the nuances of our culture, or is there something that we could do from our side to bridge that gap?
That's an interesting question. It's both sides of the coin, because in terms of working, we always fit the client, because we like that way of working. So all the people that we hire for working for clients in the States needs to have that mentality of being straightforward, receive feedback, give feedback, But on the other hand, when most of the clients once a year come to Argentina to visit the team, they really enjoy this thing of Argentinian people. I always invite them to my house. I cook a barbecue that we call it an asado. I cook an asado. We drink wine. We go to the river. We go to see tango or football. So they enjoy so deeply this thing of the cultural thing that we have,
Mhm.
that it's like a both way avenue, you know. But in
Yeah.
terms of working, I would say that we get used to the way you work.
So on a week to week basis, it's just no client lunches, right?
No,
But on the annual, I get that because if we're coming to you, we're going to enjoy all of that because the way we would think about it is we're sort of it's a work vacation, right? So we're in that mode. We're not in work mode really,
yeah,
and that which is probably why it works for those annual.
yeah, yeah. You know that we have a client that came last January, and he came for a week, and he ended up being 3 months here
Yeah,
because he was enjoying so much going to the office
yeah,
with the team and having dinner with them, and he felt that he needed to be here. And then I went to LA in October, and I spent time with him, and that's how we create relationships, you know.
but
uh,
there was no ending on your story. You went to LA and you spent time with him, and then you came back to the good
yeah,
life of Argentina.
to the
You don't want to stay
yeah,
there.
yeah, I spent like 2 weeks. I have to say that I love every time I go to the States, because for me it's like being in a movie, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
For us, we grew up watching movies from the States. That's why we are so close in terms of culture.
sure.
So I remember the first time I went to the States, I went to New York. And I remember the first time I went out from the subway in Times Square, and I saw that, and I thought, I can't believe that this. I
Like a
mean,
movie
the
set.
yellow cow, like movie. And you know that this is something really personal, but it still happened to me that every time I go to the States, I have the same feeling, and
Yeah,
I go like 4 or 5 times a year,
yeah,
but I still feel that it's amazing.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think a lot of us do too. When we travel, inside the country like that, because we watch the same movies and we want to have those same
Yeah,
experiences. But I'm sure it's even more heightened for you coming, from South America. But that's really cool to see that the clients come visit your team and they can make that connection because I think by doing that it deepens the bond that you guys have. It deepens that connection. So there's bridges that are built there because they understand the culture.
yeah.
Right in front of them instead of having kind of mixed expectations. So I think that's neat that you guys do that.
Yeah, yeah, and now that you mentioned expectations, it's always important for us when we start working with a client, set the expectations not only in terms of development, which is obvious, but also in terms of communication, saying,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you need to expect this, and that. Also for the team to understand, okay, which is your preferred channel to talk?
Yeah,
Slack, WhatsApp, messages, email, Google Meet, Zoom, wherever. So it's very important to align those things.
very
And it's
much.
something that we learned by doing.
Mm-hmm. That's smart though, because it's very advantageous for you guys to do it, but it's advantageous for every company to do it. And I think a lot of companies in the U.S. still don't do that.
Yeah,
They just sort of assume that everyone's on the same page. I see a lot of deals fall apart because of that.
yeah,
Um, but let's go back to your actual service now, because I want to learn more about what you guys actually offer, and then talk about the type of client and sort of the how they would engage you.
cool. We define ourselves as a software development company, and we partner up with companies in the US to help them build their engineering teams in Latin America. So a typical case, a typical client for us is a bootstrap company or a VC-backed company, small and medium-sized businesses. All our clients are between 20 and 100 people in average. Uh, and they already have a product, a digital product, but they need to make it grow. Maybe they built the MVP 2 years ago and test the product market fit. And now that they started having revenue, profit, they know that they have the product market fit and they need to start evolving that product. So that's exactly what we get into with two different services depending on the type of client. If the client has technical team, CTO, for instance, a CTO, we can only assign the developers. That is like a staff augmentation model. So we hire that person. We take care of taxis, paying them in Latin America, feeling them, making them feel happy, everything. But you, as a client, as a CTO, are the one who manage the day by day, the tasks, basically the project manager of the product and the people.
Gotcha.
On the other hand, if you don't have a technical team, many times we work with founders that it's only one founder, the CEO, and it doesn't have like technical skills. They don't know how to hire people, how to manage them, but they know about the product. So in those cases, we assign something we call a squad. A squad is basically an agile team that is formed by a developer, a project manager, and a quality assurance analyst. And through the project manager, we help that person, the CEO, most of the times, to think the roadmap, think the product, prioritize. You know that many times you need someone technical to understand, okay, this thing that you want to build, it's something big and it's better to prioritize for later, or maybe it's like a small detail that will change everything. So we are really partnering up with them, helping them build the product or evolve the product. But in both cases, we design ourselves as your team, your engineering team in Latin America. We only focus on engineers. We do not hire like virtual assistants, SDRs, marketing people, because we are the founders are software engineers, and I know how to hire a developer because I used to be one of them. Right. I used to be in that dark side of the moon. So that's why we focus only on engineers, which is the type of person and profile that we really know how to hire.
Okay. So the typical company that you work with, do they have also a team or multiple developers, engineers on their side as well? Or is it just typically they're outsourced?
Both. We have clients that don't have a technical team, and we are their technical team with the squad. And we also have clients that they have the technical team and they want to boost the features, the developments that they need to do. And they are happy with their team in the States, but they want more people, and maybe they can hire 2 engineers, or with the same budget that they hire 2 people in Argentina, they hire 1 in the States. So that's why they prefer to come to Latin America. We have other cases. For instance, we started working a couple of months ago with a client that have their team in Turkish, but they want to start creating a hub in Latin America because they have clients in Europe and in the States, and they want to develop that market in the States. And they understand that because of the time zone, it's better to have people in Europe and in Turkish for the European market, but they need people in Latin America for the American market. So they have technical teams. It's a company around like 200 people, but they want to start building their Latin America hub here, and they trust us to start building that process.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. The typical company that you work with, you're probably building a product or maybe some kind of technical thing internally. What kind of problem are they typically trying to solve when they come to you?
It's always a business problem, not a technical problem. The problem that they face is that they want to build things faster than they can, and they need to take care of the budget. So that's why they need a big team with a small budget, or smaller comparative to a budget for the States. And that's the main point that they usually have. Then when you make like a double click and start thinking about the technical problems, many of them try to use an agency in past companies or in the same company, and it didn't work. So many of them are afraid of trusting again in an agency. So that's why development relationships and network. It's so important because
For
for
sure.
me, it's difficult to sell a project to someone that is just, I know, listening the podcast and say, hey, this nice guy from Argentina, I will buy him like a big project. So it's something that you have to develop. So
Mhm.
most of our clients come from network, from meeting new people in events and starting developing relationships. And maybe a year later, someone says, hey, I need developers for this project. So that's the moment where we uh, get into the dance.
Yeah. And do they typically hire you and then, a portion or your whole team stays on with them for the full ride? Or is it usually, a point in time where you're filling a gap and then they end up hiring it internally at some point?
Most of the times it's endless. So they because they don't hire us because they need, I mean, if we have a potential client that need a developer only for 3 months,
Mhm.
we don't take those kind of projects because we believe in our culture as a company, and it's tough for a company to hire and fire people just for 3 months.
Right.
Because one of the big things that we have as a company is that we have like a really, really, really small rotation of people because of our culture. And that's amazing, not only for us as a company, but also for you as a client, because you don't want to hire a developer from Braintly and then in 3 months he quits and I need to replace it, and in 3 months he quits and I need to replace it. I mean, despite we replace that person for free, you as a client needs to make the onboarding again and again and again. So
Mhm.
that's why we work really hard in terms of retention, and that's why we don't take those kind of clients or those kind of projects. So most of the times it's a long-term relationship,
Mhm.
and eventually if they need to create the internal team, we understand that it may be part of the process and we help them building that team because they trust us, because most of the times at that point we had been working for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. So we are more friends than client and supplier.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have an example of a company you've worked with, and you don't necessarily have to say their name, but just to kind of put it all together?
Um, yeah, for instance, I have a client who who this guy that came to Argentina, uh, and he spent like 3 months here. He started working with a team in India or Philippines. I don't remember. I think it was India, and he created the company before COVID. Yeah, then sold it before COVID, but then COVID came and the new owner didn't know how to manage that company. So he bought the company again
Mhm.
during COVID. And something that I didn't tell you is that the first time he did it VC backed, he raised money and those things. But the second time when he bought the company again, he thought, okay, this time I will make it bootstrap, like not raising money because was in the middle of the COVID crisis. So he started working with a team in India because he needed to be like cost efficient, but it didn't work because of the time zone, the culture, the technical skills, And we met him in an event in States. The funny thing here is that his mother was born in Argentina.
Mhm.
He was born in the States. He was raised in the States, but his mother was from Argentina. So when we started our relationship, that created like an instant connection because
Yeah.
he knew about Argentina,
Yeah.
and we ended up working together. And he already has the product. We are helping them. We have been helping him for, I know, 3 years now to build the product, to evolve the product. He came to Argentina. We went to the States, and we have a team assigned in that project, and it's a squad. So we help him think the product, prioritize, face different challenge that we have.
Mhm.
So that's a good example of like a long-term relationship, but something that needs time to be developed.
Yeah.
And we have many others like that. People that came from another agencies, people that sold their companies, made like a long vacation of 2 years, and then started a new company and came to us again and told us, "Hey guys, I want to work with you again." So you can imagine that in 15 years doing this, many things happen, good and bad things.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. The trials of and triumphs of running a business.
Yeah.
This has been great. Thanks so much for coming on. It's been really a good insight, I think, for those companies who are looking at the Latin America market. And for those people who want to reach out to you and connect, where should we send them?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I think my name will appear in the episode. So if you reach me on LinkedIn, I think I'm the only one, Roger Einstoss, because it's a weird combination of name and surname.
Yeah.
And I'm also, you can also write to my email. It's roger@braintly.com. Um, and also in X, I like to say Twitter. I can't afford
Yeah.
to call it X, but the best way is LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, this is great. Thanks again for being on, and
You're
we'll
welcome.
have to have you back at some point.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me, for the invitation, and I really enjoyed the conversation.